This is an exciting time of the year because after months of growing under cover, it's finally getting warm enough that we can start removing the cover. Today I thought I'd answer a question many of you have been asking me lately. What do we do with all this stuff? The greenhouse plastic, the hoops, and the cold frames. Let's start by talking about how I store the greenhouse plastic. It's now warm enough that our cool weather crops don't need any protection. So I removed the greenhouse film from the low tunnels where we're growing cool weather crops like greens, peas, carrots, and potatoes. We're also getting an early start on summer crops in the hoop house and one of our hinged low tunnels, so that cover will remain in place for another few weeks when temperatures aren't likely to dip below 50 degrees Fahrenheit and our summer crops will no longer need protection. We don't have a lot of storage space in the house, but we store our greenhouse plastic in the basement. Keeping it out of the sun and other elements during the summer reduces UV damage and extends the life of the plastic, so it should last well beyond the guaranteed 4 years. The plastic on the potato bed was a little muddy, so I hung it on the fence to dry it out. After the mud dries, I can easily brush off the dry soil before storing the plastic in the basement. Though I'm not quite ready to remove the plastic from the hoop house, it is warm enough that I opened up the south wall for additional venting to avoid overheating crops inside. Though we store the plastic inside, everything else stays outside, including the PVC pipes. In fact, the pipes for the hoop house and our 2 hinged low tunnels stay exactly where they are year-round. We don't disassemble the structures at all. However, we do remove the pipes for our temporary low tunnels. We set up temporary low tunnels in late winter and early spring to get an early start on crops. Here I'm removing pipes from a tunnel that protected red Norland and Yukon Gold potatoes that I planted in mid-March. I also removed the hoops on a bed where we're growing tree collards, Georgia collards, kale, and peas, and another bed of greens and peas. I stored the pipes along the fence near the back gate. The hoops fit nicely into this area, and I secured them to the fence with bungee cords. As you can see, they take up very little space. I stored the straight pipes here, again attached to the fence with bungee cords. Now let's look at where we store our cold frames. The 2 cold frames in the hoop house stay exactly where they are year-round, and I have their lids right here. In fact, I have all of our cold frame lids right here along the fence. The rest of the cold frames take up surprisingly little space because they're stored on the back fence where there's no foot traffic, and the smaller frames can be nested inside the larger ones. On the back fence, I've attached 3 boards that I use to hang the cold frames. I simply rest the frames on the boards and secure them to the fence with bungee cords. We have more than 3 cold frames, but I only need 3 hangers because we can place the smaller ones inside the larger ones. These will remain here on the back fence until this fall, when we use them to protect our fall and winter crops. So that's how we store all of our season extension tools when they're not in use. The greenhouse plastic goes inside to prevent UV damage and extend its life, but everything else stays outside, either in place year-round, or we tuck it along the fence line where it takes up very little room. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe for more videos on how to grow a lot of food on a little land without spending much or working harder than you have to.